I am.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
I could, I guess. I don't know. All right. I was gonna love this intro. On this episode of This Is Game Boy, I would tell you a Metroid joke, but I ran out of time. You want to know another one? I know a few Metroid jokes, but they're not very good.
Oh man. Unbelievable.
All right, penguin puns next time. Would you like that instead?
Yeah. See, now you can actually see my reaction to this
The
bullshit
penguin
that's
one
gonna
was the
get
best because I
edited
was
out
crying for
in the
like
actual.
15 minutes after the penguin one.
Oh boy. Yeah. Hope you enjoy these live recordings with all the craziness that goes with it.
We get the intro going through there.
Right.
Do 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 do. That's how it goes. I'm sorry. I mean, what do you want me to do?
It's true.
All right. Hello, everyone, and RGL TV. This is our, first live RGL episode. We'll say it that way. First live RGL episode. Third live episode in total. First two being Nubo and Spider-Man. But yeah. So before we dive into all the other stuff, Mo, what have you been up to?
Well, I have been doing quite a lot of gaming, especially if you are looking at my notes as well. It's been a while since we've done a recording because we took like a long break with the holidays and we had everything already recorded. And I think it's been like 2 months that I even recorded anything on my own as well. So, yeah, I've been playing quite a lot of games. So I'm not going to dive into a lot of these. I'm just going to touch on some of them that I thought are interesting to talk about. But I've been playing a lot of Steam games that I had lying around for probably years, because that's how Steam goes. You buy something and then you never touch it, actually. So let's go over those real quick. There were actually two games that got gifted to me over the past few sales. One called Mon Amour, which is French for like my sweetheart or my love, and one called Vampire Survivors. They're both two kind of brainless games, short brainless games, but it are really fun to play. Very very addictive to play. If you're looking for something really quick and fun, go check those out. I mean, I really like them. Oh, and I completed both of them. So. After that, I finally played through the entirety of Secret Agent, HD version, that is, if you can call it HD. That's the old DOS game by Apogee. It's really fun. Like, it's my favorite DOS game of all time. It has the 3 episodes that came out in the past, and it also has a new episode that the HD remaster team put into it. If you see a screenshot of it, you probably know it. If you ever had a computer when you were little. After that, I played Phantasmagoria. That's a great game. Like I always heard, it was, how do you say it, like ridiculous, which it kinda is, but it. Well, I don't know. I think it's a really good game, actually. I really enjoyed it. Is the acting great? No, but I don't know. It's made by Sierra, so they always knew what they were doing when it came to like point and click games. And I'm really terrible at point and click games, and I was able to finish it, so I'm already happy about that. After that, I played There Is No Game Wrong Dimension. If you don't know what that is, check it out. Like, you can't describe that game. It's so
no game.
Yeah, there actually is no game, so it's not even a game. But yeah, amazing. It's really awesome. And there's also a free Jam edition if you want to check it out, so you know what you're getting into. I also played through the Dread X Collection 1, 2, and 3. That's like a bunch of horror games in like a jam session as well. They're all super short. They got put together in a collection with an overarching theme, basically. It's kind of like those PS1 horror game disc that they're like releasing. It's stuff like that. It's really cool. If it's so super varied, it's horror themed. It's not always really horror, but yeah, those are awesome games. But be aware that all of them are buggy because, well, it's like 10 different developers and then somebody has to paste them all together into one game. Sometimes stuff will go wrong. I also played You Will Not Remain, which is a free game on Steam. It's a 20-minute horror game. And then the biggest one I'm playing right now, which I do kind of want to talk more about, is Jimmy and the Pulsating Mass, which is only available on Steam. Probably nobody has ever heard of that game, and if you have and you played it, congratulations, because you just played one of the most interesting RPGs from the past like 5 years, maybe. It's kind of structured like an Earthbound game, so that's all you need to know, basically. It has a very funny but also deep story. It has paint-like graphics, which may sound bad, but it actually works for the aesthetic that it has. And yeah, I don't know. I recommend it. It's not on sale a lot, but it's also only $15 or euros. And I can highly recommend it if you like Earthbound style RPGs. Oh. Wow. I have so many games that I've played. So on Game Boy, actually.
Wizardry.
What?
Wizardry 1.
Yeah, Wizardry Gaiden 1. Absolutely hate it. Wish it never existed in the first place. Wish it didn't have a translation so I wouldn't have to play it. It is not for me at all. And I understand that a lot of people like these types of games, but for me, it's absolutely the worst thing I've ever played in my life. And I'm still like 40 hours away of beating it even.
And that's way too. That manual for you so you can read it.
No, that I don't even need a manual because it has so many things going on for it that you wouldn't even know if you've never played D&D.
That's true.
And it has all of these mechanics that are hidden, and nothing in this game gets explained at all. Like, the game even came with a 180-page guide in Japan. That's how convoluted it is to play it, and
yeah, the manual's 54 pages long.
Yeah, that's that as well. Yeah, it's not for me. I really know people like Wizardry as a series, but this is... Yeah, it's agony for me. Like, I don't want to play it, but now I started it, so I guess I have to finish it. I did play through the Incredible Crash Dummies on Game Boy, which is it's 5 mini games basically that you have to do 4 times. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it actually. It gets really tough near the end, especially the space levels, and yeah, I don't know. It's a fun game for me, but yeah, it would have been better if it didn't have an actual ending. I think, like if it was just
went on
get as far as you can, but yeah, it's 4 weeks of work basically, so you have to go through 4 loops.
It's interesting too, because it's super different than the NES version. Like, it's not a platformer. Like, you have to collect money to progress through the game. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's for your high score, which is totally not important, but yeah, you just have to get through all the stages, and it gets pretty tough. I've also played PowerPoint Presentation 2000 on Game Boy, also known as Faceball 2000.
A good game.
It wasn't that terrible, but sadly, yeah, it's literally a slideshow, which makes the game not that fun to play. And I think it took me like 3 hours or 4 hours to beat it. Like it's pretty long, even. But yeah, everybody knows Phaseball. It's also on Super Nintendo. I hope it runs better on Super Nintendo, but yeah, the Game Boy one, it's just not. It's amazing that it works, but it doesn't work well, I guess.
But you can play with 16 people on the Game Boy
version. You could play with 16 people,
if you can find 15 other people to play with.
Yeah, and it's probably also even slower. I would imagine.
Could you imagine 16 people with like 6 4-scores trying to play Phaseball with one another?
Oh, yeah, I don't think it would work at all. Actually, like, yeah. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it's a perfectly fine game. But yeah. And then I played a new released Game Boy game called The Shapeshifter, and it's absolutely bonkers amazing. Still have to put on the video on my YouTube. But yeah, wow, what a game. Of course, it has some issues because it's like homebrew and Game Boy Studio wasn't that great yet, so when it comes to hitboxes in that game, it's a little wonky, but otherwise it's like absolutely amazing, and I can't wait for the sequel to eventually come out.
It's supposed to be out this year.
Yeah, by the end of the year.
On normally. 2 cartridges.
Yeah, I don't know how that is gonna work, but
yeah, I don't know either. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shapeshifter 2 is supposed to come out end of this year. 2 cartridge game. And I think the Kickstarter ended like a month ago for it. It might still
yes
be
and no, because
open, so to speak, but
it is open. You can still support it. It's Indiegogo, not Kickstarter. I think they work different. Yeah,
same difference.
Man, and then a few more games. Jesus, like I don't know where I found the time to. Yeah, these were all short games. So, so I played Phantom 2040 and Blade on Game Boy Color because the Big Mike over here gave them for Secret Santa, which we had on RGL a little whiles back. I played through both of them, and I really enjoyed both of them. Especially Phantom is really cool, and it has like 48 different endings, which is something I didn't think was even possible on a Super Nintendo game, but yeah, crazy. Like, I didn't even get the best ending, apparently. You have so many choices to make, and they all branch out. It's like a complete tree of paths to take. It's crazy, but wow, what an amazing game. What else did I play? Lego DC Super Villains, PlayStation 4 version. It's fun for a while, and then it gets really then it just gets boring and tedious. Yeah. So, but yeah, I completed it. It was fine. Like, I didn't think I would have that much fun with it, but yeah, they are all the same basically, just with other properties basically. And then the worst thing I've played, Mario and Luigi Dream Team Bros. I love Mario and Luigi. Like the series, I don't the characters as well, I guess. But the series is really cool. Like I loved the GBA ones. I liked Bowser's Inside Story, and I think there was another one on DS. But this one, wow! Again, great music, great gameplay, great great graphics, like everything you could dream of. But it's like a 40-hour tutorial, and it's worked on my nerves. Like, every time you go to a new area and you get something new, and it keeps going and keeps going. Like, at hour 39, I got another tutorial. And I was like, stop it. It's enough. I mean, Yeah, I don't know. They tried to do so many things and they all work, but it's just too much. Like for me, this is the worst out of the entire series for sure. And I do not recommend it. I recommend all the other ones, but definitely not this one. Okay, that was my entire list. So Jesus. So what have you been up to?
As mentioned in the light episode that isn't out yet, um, I played and beat Metroid Dread, which a lot of people know my opinion about that game. Uh, I platinumed Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered, played through the Assassin's Creed 3 DLC, King Washington, The Tyranny of King Washington. So, an alternate reality instead of George Washington leading the United States into battle and everything else. After the Americas beat the British, George Washington becomes king and basically runs hell through Earth and America, and you have to kill King George Washington. Kind of an interesting DLC. Um, Played and beat Turnip. I 100%ed too. Turnip Boy commits tax evasion. Very. It's a game you wouldn't think would be good, but it's very cute, pretty short, and it plays like an old Zelda, like a Link to the Past. It's actually kind of fun.
That's cool.
Then I played Days Before Christmas for the Super Nintendo, the European exclusive game. Lunar Journey, which Mo talked about Shapeshifter. I played and finished Lunar Journey, who is by the same creator, one of his earlier games, Green Boy Games. Then I played Doraemon Nobita no Dorabian Night on the TurboGrafx 16. Um, the bosses are easy until you get to the haunted world. Then that game is impossible. And the haunted world is like the third stage. So once
That's
you get
pretty.
past the haunted world, the rest of the game is easy. The haunted world is brutal. Darkwing Duck for the TurboGrafx 16, which honestly not as bad as most people say it is. The gun is just useless. So you just Mario your way through the entire game. Then I played Sailor Moon on the Game Gear twice because I found out that the two different game modes give you two different endings. You can play as either Sailor Moon or Chibiusa, and both have different power levels and have different endings. Don't know anything about
It's kind of
Chibiusa. That's
cool.
after my time of Sailor Moon.
I know
Then we
nothing
did the
about
bunker
Sailor
for
Moon.
Haunt Hunters, right? So we did that.
Yeah,
Um, I played Pine Creek recently. Pine Creek Game Boy. It's a Game Boy Color homebrew. It's a horror inspired game, and I thought it was a game I originally was going to submit for the RGL Horror Marathon if we were to have it again. But after the end of the game was revealed, I was like, well, probably not going to submit that to a marathon at all. The content, the ending contents is it's a good game. It's disturbing, but it's yeah.
yeah, not for the
If you think skinning humans was rough, then you wouldn't like the ending of Pine Creek.
yeah.
Um, a
All
lot
right.
more disturbing. And I'm recently playing through Pokemon Legends, that Arceus game right now, which I about threw my controller through the wall last night playing it. So
That sounds good.
it's a tutorial thing. That's all I'll say about it.
I'm done
Um,
with tutorials, so
by the way, the
I'm
game
good.
is fun beyond having to do the story stuff, but the game is I actually really enjoy the open worldness of the game. But um, and then obviously WoW Classic Phase 3 just came out, so Black Temple, Mount Hyjal, all that stuff came out for those of you that play WoW. So a lot of my time gets consumed into that. Side projects, I recently just got a Mister, so I've been dicking around with that for like the last month and a half. Um, been trying to do some art stuff, manual scanning for legs finally because she kind of got fed up with me finally. I finished the first volume of the Kirby manga. Now I'm reading the second one, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still quite a lot. Like my list sounded long, but again, those were mostly very short games. So
Yeah, like Assassin's Creed 3 was like a 70-hour platinum. So I mean,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm one to platinum those games. So, but yeah, no, that's all I've been up to. Kirby in March. That's probably the only game I'm looking forward to this year so far. Is the new Kirby game, so I can be disappointed.
yeah. True. Actually, I don't have anything on my uh, well, not an actual wish list, but like in my head, like I'm not looking forward to anything really. Kirby looks interesting. I just hope open world. Well,
It'll let me down,
it's
just
not.
like Star Allies
I
did.
just wonder if it would work properly for a Kirby title, but we'll see.
We'll see. But
Yeah.
I guess there's a couple homebrews I'm looking forward to. The Machine is coming out for pre-order in a couple weeks, which is like it's a I don't want to say post-apocalyptic, but it's a world that basically humans has built their way out of existence, essentially. So just machines run the world. So it's think of like Demolition Man, where like a bunch of people live underground, and above the ground is a bunch of like rich people, and like everything is super automated. It's a very similar concept to that.
Right, and
Um,
it's
and
all
then
Taco Bell owned.
yeah, everything's Taco
Yeah,
Bell. Yeah.
or Pizza Hut in Europe because we
Yeah.
didn't have Taco Bell, so they changed everything to Pizza Hut.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's good.
actually
That's really
true.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
And then Gelatinous from John Rue is supposed to come out, I think, in March. John Rue did a homebrew game called Quest Arrest for the Game Boy, which was a very Pokemon-inspired, crime-based game. Actually, really fun. A lot of bugs to it, but it was a very fun game with multiple endings. And he partnered up with someone else to release Gelatinous, which is coming out in March, and that Kickstarter ended mid last year, something like that. And then obviously Shapeshifter 2. Like I've been looking forward to that sequel for a while, so
Yeah, I need to back it so I can get uh, a copy of it.
and then sell it on eBay for millions of dollars because that's what
Absolutely.
people do now. Is that they buy physical homebrew copies and sell them on eBay for 4 times the price, even though like half the world has never heard of them.
Yeah, scalping, man. It's
So dumb.
it's been getting worse and worse. So
It's so dumb. Like I went to like go get a copy of Dedius before it was re-released on physical, and it was like $300 for a copy of Dedius. And I'm like, I'm not gonna spend
yeah,
$300 on a copy of Dedius. Then I ended up buying a copy of Dedius for like $30 from I forgot who, and then Incubate Games re-released the physical copy for like $40, or you can get the collector's edition for like 200. I'm like I don't need stickers and a poster. Like this version works just fine for me. So
yeah. I would like to have it, but sadly, Incubate Games is located in Canada, and I
yep.
would get screwed over by customs. Like I had the same thing
There
with Genesis.
there
So.
is one cool thing though with homebrew games that I do like, and it's a lot of like the small detail to attention. It's like on the Pine Creek cartridge. On the Pine Creek cartridge, they like made custom PCB boards. It's like right above the label, you can see like incubate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then on the back, it shows the symbol of like the ritual in the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's
like
actually
it's
really
really
cool.
cool. Like the attention to details to some of the stuff in this homebrew like market is actually really damn cool. Um, but you know, is it worth the is it worth $40 or is it worth $100? Like who knows, right?
Yeah, like 50 to $60, I would say fine. Uh,
Yeah.
but
So I
yeah,
mean, like it's up to you as a collector. But like for me, for example, like I try to get them early while they're cheaper, because the longer they stay on the market, the more expensive they seemingly get. So
yeah,
Um, but yeah. So yeah, we're gonna take a super uber short break, and when we come back, we are going to dive into Metroid 2. All right.
All right. Yeah.
I don't know how loud this is going to be. I'll start the Metroid video too after short break. I forgot.
Oh, I thought you just started it from the start, actually. Again, feel free to chat away, everybody.
I forgot how dumb the title song was for Metroid. It takes a minute for any music to come through.
Yeah.
Just to how good the game is, I guess, right? You wait for the minute that the game actually becomes fun. You can tell how much I like this gameplay.
Yep.
Mo knew too. Mo was like, "We're gonna do Metroid 2 as our next episode." After he watched me play Metroid Dread.
Yeah. I knew we had to do this episode now. Yeah.
I hated Metroid Dread so much. Hated that game. I liked Super Metroid. That's the thing. Like, I like Super Metroid. I think Super Metroid is one of the greatest games of all time.
It's good, yeah.
But not Metroid Dread. That game is dog water. Trying to keep it a little PG-13 for stream. Like, Metroid 2 was okay. Like, it wasn't as bad as Dread. I just didn't like having to kill 4,200 Metroid. Like, give me Kraid, Ripley, and that giant eyeball thing from Super Metroid. I can't remember its name. I like
and 2 probably.
Right now, I'm not gonna look it up. I have 32 windows open. Alright. And welcome back, everybody. I don't know what... Oh, I need to put... Hope you enjoy that really crappy title song from Metroid 2, where it takes 3 hours for any music to come through. I was like, oh, first one, we'll choose the title screen. Ding, ding. Okay, well, that's a good song to start with, so...
It is not a good... yeah, it's just...
It ain't no metal. Whatever. It ain't no Metal Masters.
Yeah. It's an atmospheric song, not an actual, like... Oh, boy. Song, I guess.
I don't want atmosphere with my songs. Alright, Metroid 2. Return of Samus. So, released in November of 1991 in America. May 21st, 1992 in Europe. And January 21st, 1991 in Japan. So, pretty normal. Japan gets the game about a year in advance between the West. Kind of crazy days. You guys didn't get yours till 92, though. That's pretty late, honestly, because usually, like, the American and European release is around the same time or a few months apart.
Yeah, I think the main reason was because this was basically, besides Donkey Kong 94, like, one of 2 games that promoted a lot together with the Super Game Boy. So...
Oh, yeah,
that, like, it's not Super Game Boy Enhanced at all, but, like, unlike Donkey Kong, but, like, if you have the book, I should have picked it off my shelf. The book that came with the Super Game Boy, like Metroid, is like the prime example in that one for like how to choose your own colors for different settings and things like that. So
interesting.
I think that's probably why.
Because the color settings for this game are atrociously ugly.
The standard ones, you mean?
Yeah.
Like just the
the plain Jane ones. Like I actually like the bright yellow and red.
Yeah, it's an amazing Super Game Boy color scheme you can use for it. Yeah.
Developed and published by Nintendo. Like this is what the 91. This would be the second Metroid game. The Super Metroid I don't think came out yet.
Nope.
So this would be the actual second Metroid game to come out. Composed by Ryoji Yoshitomi, which actually is still doing stuff to this day. Kind of crazy to think that a man from, 1990-ish, because his first game was F1 Race, so 91, and he's still composing for Nintendo games up until today, because his most recent game was Mario Party Superstars, which was released last year on the Switch. So
part of the original R1D1 team. So those are mostly people that still just work at Nintendo till this day. Well,
he did the Samus Return music too for the 3DS or whatever it was.
That's the 3DS one, yeah.
Yeah. Looks like he does a lot of Mario stuff now, though. Mario Party, Mario Tennis, Paper Mario, the Origami King, which I've never played yet. So
me neither.
It's cool that he was actually, credited and still doing work to this day, because a lot of composers don't get credited in these early Game Boy games. I mean, hell, even throughout the entire Game Boy life cycle, a lot of people don't get credited in a lot of these games. So it's a lot of digging for some crazy stuff. Like Jason Austin, again, an example. Like, I've used this man 1,000 times in our episodes because he's the only developer I actually so actively talk to. He did Alien 3 and among other games too, but it's like a lot of that stuff isn't credited, and he's just like, we had 5 weeks to roll out a game. Like, you want us to put everyone's name involved? It's like 3 people. Like, why would we do that type deal? So it's kind of interesting. And then there are just some publishers that just don't do it because they just announce it as like the team. It's like, Sega Black Team, or whatever it may be. So
yeah, and a lot in Japan it was
weird.
Yeah, in Japan it was just because they had to be anonymous. So
yeah,
it's like those weird names that you see in credits. You still have no idea who they are. Basically,
that's why they have a lot of pen names in Japan.
Yeah.
So, genre Metroid in all caps.
Yes,
not a Metroidvania.
This game is Metroid.
It's not a Metroidvania because there's not a Belmont involved. So,
for those of you who have been listening in the past, you know how much I hate that term. So yeah, I made sure to put Metroid as a genre in our notes.
Like a Metroid is just an adventure game. Like, it's not even its own genre.
Yeah,
Metroid isn't even its own genre. It's just an action adventure game.
Yeah,
indeed. That's all it is. Jeremy Parrish. All right, Mr. Story.
Yeah, this is a long one. We know Lex loves these long ones. She usually puts some kind of song in the background. You can probably take the Metroid intro song, to be honest, and put on the background of it. That's very atmospheric.
For the first time, you're gonna like it the second
time. Right, we can still change for the actual audio episode. We can still change the music. Yeah, this is like 4 pages, so that's a lot for people who maybe want to See, this is the thing. These are the things we can do live, though. So
I want a narrator voice too.
no thanks.
In the year 2000.
So yeah, if you want to check out the manual, there it is. That's where the story is located. So the Metroid Story. All right. In the year 2000 of the history of the cosmos, representatives of many different planets in the galaxy established a congress called the Galactic Federation. A successful exchange of cultures and civilization resulted, and thousands of interstellar spaceships ferried back and forth between planets. When space pirates appeared to attack this spaceship, the Federation Bureau created the Galactic Federation Police. There are many unknown planets throughout the galaxy. Many of these are causes of concern to the Galactic Federation. To take care of this, they employ space hunters, the greatest of which is Samus Aran. Samus's greatest achievement has been the destruction of the pirates, the space pirates, I guess, Metroids' plans on the planet. Nobody knows how to pronounce the planet. It's either Zabis or Zebes. I'm gonna go with Zebes.
Always Zebes.
In the year 20x5 of the cosmos, an unknown life form was discovered on planet SR388 by a Galactic Federation deep space research ship. The research crew took a sample of the creature and placed it into a suspended animation stasis capsule and dubbed the life form Metroid. On their way back to their home base, the research ship was attacked by pirates who stole the stasis capsule containing the life form. The Metroid in suspended animation could easily be brought back to life, and exposure to beta rays was all that was needed to cause it to multiply. This highly dangerous creature will cling to any other creature and suck away its victim's energy. Samus, by order of the Galactic Federal Police, successfully and single-handedly penetrated the space pirates' natural fortress on the planet Zebes. After a series of intense battles, Samus destroyed all the Metroids she encountered. Her destruction, of the reactivated Mother Brain at the center of the fortress crushed the pirates' evil plans. We're not done yet. Jesus. After serious consideration of how terrible and destructive the Metroid lifeform was, the Galactic Federation sent another research ship to SR388. This trip was to make sure there were no more Metroids left on the planet. After a short time, the Federation received an emergency notice from the research base. They had lost contact and the research ship was missing. The base had already sent a search and rescue party, but after their initial contact, the rescue ship was not heard from again. A special combat group was assembled consisting of armed soldiers from the Federation Police and was immediately dispatched to SR388. After transmitting their primary landing data, they also were never heard from. Rumors spread fast, and again the whole galaxy was seized with the fear of Metroids. With this limited information, the Federation was positive that a Metroid must still be surviving, hiding deep in the planet's underground. Even one living Metroid could easily wipe out an entire planetary civilization. So the Galactic Federation called its members to an urgent conference to find a way to overcome this menace. They quickly came to one conclusion, which was unanimous and simple. Give Samus Aran the order to exterminate the Metroids. The underworld of the planet SR388 is a complicated structure of multi-layered domes and spaces. Some of these contain the ancient ruins of some unknown civilization. These are home to many life forms living on the planet. Samus, charged with her mission from the Galactic Federation, hurried to the planet SR388. Samus's confrontation with the Metroids has started again. You must help Samus save the galaxy from the Metroids. Whew, there we go. And that's all the story you will ever get in this entire game because they just didn't do that back then. And that wasn't the purpose either. Oh.
That's true. The animation is nicely done, at least too. The manual, one of the nicer manuals we've gotten to look at. So
it's a really good manual, yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, now that you know the plot behind the game and why Samus needs to go and commit genocide to a bunch of things on the planet, the game controls. So obviously it's a Game Boy game. So pretty basic. You know, you got 2 buttons. Your D-pad moves you around, just like, you know, everything else in the world. Double down is Morph Ball, which is a little interesting. That one took a little bit to actually get used to. Triple down is your Spider Ball, which again was a little interesting and kind of tough to get used to. Select switches to missiles, and your B button will either fire your hand cannon or your missiles. And B button in ball form will drop your bombs. It's interesting that they decided to use the D-pad so much for transformation. If you play various other games with like transformations like Trip World, it utilizes a combination of controls like up B, down B, whatever it may be, instead of relying on, you know, a double or a triple press, which I have accidentally turned into a ball multiple times in my playthrough because I accidentally doubled down on down and get mad. So, but it is a little interesting that with the controls the way they are. It does take a little bit to get used to start. But your items are honestly your pretty general Metroid items, at least during this time in 1991. You have your Morph Ball, which, well, allows you to morph into a ball. Your bombs, your Spider Ball. You have Spring Ball, which you don't need it. You know, it's like a Metroid game where you don't need every item to beat the game, but it does help you. Your various
it is very useful, yeah.
Yeah, you have your various suit, your high jump boots, your space jump, your screw attack, your missile pods, which you kind of need for like the final boss, basically. Your energy tanks, which obviously the more health you have, the more you can just run through the screen and not worry about anything. Your weapon upgrades, you have the wave beam, which is absolutely just useless in my opinion. The laser beam, the plasma beam, and the ice beam. I found the ice beam to be one of the better weapons for how I play, but I'm also a weird person how I play these types of games.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can hear so far, this is all very typical of any Metroid game you might have ever played, really. I guess most people just know Super Metroid.
Which again is pretty similar to Super Metroid as well too. They didn't really deviate from the norm until like the Prime series.
True. Yeah, even Fusion and the remake Zero Mission, they all stay in the same vein, of course. But yeah, you have some new things in here. I mean, you can't just do Metroid NES again because, in my opinion, that wasn't the best game to begin with. It's a little too esoteric for my taste. I've played it multiple times, but like for me, that is definitely the weakest of the Metroid series. But yeah, you have a few. Sometimes I can talk. A few new things in this game. Spring Ball definitely is new. That's something you didn't have in the original Metroid. It allows you to jump while you are in the Morph Ball. The Spider Ball is completely unique to this game, even. It's used to scale walls. You can cling to them.
You can climb up walls with it.
Yeah.
Or roll up walls, rather. Ball.
Yeah. Sadly, coming back to the controls as well, it's weird. Like, it has one of those things where if you keep pressing the same button, you will keep going forward or backwards along a wall. But the moment you stop pressing it, it suddenly changes to, like, right is actually right, but you have to press up to go upwards, and otherwise you wouldn't be able to do that. So it's not really great, in my opinion, how it works. Luckily, you don't use it that often. It's only used for like a few things here and there. Yeah, the various suit that was available in the the original Metroid as well. Super Metroid was the first one that had the gravity suit, actually. High jump boots were in Metroid. I think space jump was in Metroid, but screw attack wasn't, or the other way around. One of the two is not in the original Metroid. But everybody loves a screw attack, of course. It's like the best item you can get in the game, really.
It's like the most known icon for Metroid.
Yeah.
Other than the actual Metroid.
Of course, the missile pods and the energy tanks are available in lesser capacity than at least Super Metroid. I don't know about the NES one. I don't remember how many upgrades for your missiles there are in there. But in this case, if you want to play the game as it's supposed to be played, you kind of need all the missile upgrades in the game. Because, yeah, the final boss absolutely needs them. I think you can miss like 10 times. And otherwise you are, quote-unquote, screwed. And you have to restart the fight, not restart the game. Don't worry about that. Yeah, when it comes to weapon upgrades, I think only 2 of these or 3 of these were available in the original Metroid, so they definitely added one. I think the plasma beam might be new. That's the strongest one out of the 3, and the ice beam is just used, of course, for freezing enemies. In my opinion, plasma beam is the weapon I go with. Ice beam I actually don't use, except plasma for when you have to.
Yeah. The wave beam, though, is awful and just should be avoided. What a garbage goddamn gun.
Yeah, that's the first thing you come across for sure. It's better than your normal weapon because it does do more damage, but it's kind of it's like
if you can hit weird something with it, it's better than your original weapon.
Yeah, it's very weird in this one, but yeah, I always go for the plasma beam as soon as I can pick it up until the end of the game, and then I switch over to the ice beam because. Again, like in the original Metroid, you can only have one weapon at a time in this case, so you do have to switch them out.
Yeah, I like the ice beam just because like my style of playing is I very much run and gun, but like there are a lot of times like I'll approach a room and it's like I don't need to fight this room at all, or I don't need to farm anything, and I just ice beam my way through it all. That way I don't take damage. I can just get out of there as fast as possible. So I'm very much an ice beam user. Plus, I used to speedrun the first Metroid, and I was an ice beamer in the first Metroid as well, so that kind of carried over.
Yeah. When it comes to these weapon upgrades, and this is like kind of spoiler alert, but also not really, at the end of... Well, at like 80% done with the game, you find a room where you can find all of these weapons, so you can just pick whichever one you like best, I guess. And unlike the original Metroid, where you had to go back a long ways to pick up the ice beam because you needed to kill the normal Metroids, I guess they're called, like the ones that just came out of the egg.
The baby Metroids.
Yeah, it's not even baby, but it's like the normal version of them.
Slightly matured.
So yeah, you again need it in this game, of course, but it's right at the end where you need it. So that's a big improvement over the original one where you had to like backtrack to get it. So yeah, it's there if you need it.
Yeah.
So
I will say really the layout overall in Metroid 2 destroys Metroid 1's layout. Yeah. Like the actual like Metroid 1 being the first Metroid, obviously, right? But, like, Metroid 2, like, they definitely learned from their mistakes and definitely made the game better, so. Mechanics of the game. So, each area consists of its own maze, its own Metroidvania-style section. Oh, so... In this game, instead of going around and killing Kraid and Ripley and, God knows what, Mother Brain at the end, whatever it may be, like, instead of having, like, the static, like, 3 bosses that you typically would have basically throughout the rest of the Metroid franchise, this game takes a pretty different approach, and you actually have to take out the Metroids instead. So how like in the end of Metroid 1 where you had to kill the moderately matured Metroids towards the end before you get into Mother Brain. This time around, they are your main antagonist in this game, and you have to take them all out. In this game, there's something like 40 Metroids that you have to kill, 39, something like that.
39, yeah.
So in each section, you have to hunt down these Metroids. You need to find your suit upgrades, which I'll complain about that in a minute. Mo knows my complaint about that already. And then basically the area when an earthquake will occur, and then any liquid and stuff like that in certain parts will lower down, allowing you to go deeper into ZBs as well to keep taking out more Metroid things along the way. And the Metroids aren't just your standard little Metroids that hatch out. Like, you have different various types of Metroids, which I think we'll cover here in a minute. So it's not just your basic I'm gonna shoot 5 missiles into this Metroid and kill it type deal. It does progressively get harder as you go through the game. And if you are ill prepared, you will certainly die. So save points in this game aren't like your big save rooms as they would be in Super Metroid or things like that, where you have this grandiose, you stand on a platform and a beam shows up and you save your game that way. They don't count as recharge stations either, so you don't get to recharge your health or anything like that at all. You have to find these hidden missile batteries or whatever you want to call them, and energy balls to recharge your stuff. A few Metroid games took this approach later on, where the save wasn't the recharge, the save was just simply a save. So otherwise you can just farm yourself. There's plenty of regular enemies in this game to kill, especially early on, so you shouldn't have an issue at least farming missiles in this game.
Yeah.
Really, I like that about mechanics. If you've played Metroid 1, you kind of understand the gist of what to do with Metroid 2. It's you enter an area of a planet, and you explore it, you find the secrets, you find your upgrades, find what your main objective is. In this case, your main objective is to kill the Metroids. Once doing so, the game notices okay, hey, you're ready to progress. Something happens where it either will suddenly show you in the game, or a new path will open, or something will happen, letting you know that you need to move on. So, in this case here, most of the time it's an earthquake saying, hey, we've lowered some liquid for you, keep diving deeper into the planet. So,
yeah, and that was really a brilliant idea to come up with. Not only because, yes, this is a Game Boy game, so everything has to be a little bit more compact, I guess, and in shorter bursts of somebody playing. Okay, we all play 10 hours a day. don't kid yourself, but normally you would play handheld games in short bursts, so they did it really well by setting up a part of the planet you can explore, and you can save after you're done with that part and then move on to the next part later on. So and it was also just a big improvement over the first one, where it was just you can basically go anywhere, good luck. Which was a little bit too
yeah. Like, I came across this giant dragon. Oh, cool, you're fighting Ripley. Good luck, because you're not supposed to be here yet, but you just figured yourself out to get here, type deal. Or that was kind of the interesting thing I did like about Metroid 1, was that you can kind of just make your own adventure, right? It definitely has a merit towards that, but definitely I've killed a boss, now what do I do? Definitely played a really big role in the first Metroid. Something else to think about too is that this game is still early Game Boy. This is 91, so this is the the turning point of Game Boy games, essentially. So like come 91, you know, we have games that are starting to break out of its shell. Developers are starting to understand the limits of the Game Boy and starting to understand like how much the Game Boy can possibly handle. So with the Super Game Boy coming out and with the development now 2 years in for the Game Boy, people are starting to understand the handheld a lot better. So Metroid definitely does take advantage of that, but also still lacks because it's just an early Game Boy title compared to some of the later games. Like we have, you know, Kirby's Dream Land, which came out in 92, which even though is a shorter game, much shorter game than Metroid, still implemented a little bit more feature-rich stuff into the game compared to what Metroid had. Or Super Mario Land 2, Super Mario Land 3, like those games came out much later than Metroid, which implemented more features simply because the developers knew how much more they could push the Game Boy to. So, although this is a 91 game very early, the developers did a very standout job, and even with a subtle earthquake telling you, hey, time to move on to the next section of the map, was actually pretty big in comparison as well. So, all right, so we have the Metroids now.
Yeah, we could go over all the enemies in this game, but you all know it's just the standard enemies from any Metroid game, really. And again, I've linked the chat to the manual. You can see all of them in there with their names. But yeah, it's just all standard Metroid enemies.
It's the same Metroid, basically the same Metroid 1 enemies. They look a little different, obviously, because Game Boy. But you get the ones that, like, you know, crawl around the perimeter of a platform. You get the ones that just kind of go horizontally. You got the ones that kind of do a wave around, like the Medusa heads from Castlevania. You got the ones that jump from the ceiling to the floor. Like, you got your very basic Metroid 1 enemies that take, like, 3 or 4 shots to kill. And if you have the Ice Beam, you freeze them. And you can just launch shots into them to kill them. And they drop energy balls or they drop missiles, whatever they decide to drop. So, very Metroid, you know, early Metroid-esque so far. And in the game, like, if you're thinking, like, you know, you only take damage from enemies, you can take damage from liquid as well, too. You do eventually get to the point where you approach, I call it lava, because that's what it looked like from the Game Boy. You can approach the liquid eventually, too, and I think the liquid started to hurt you, if I remember right. So, It's just like any other Metroid environment when it comes to that. So going over the enemies is just like saying Mario has Goombas that you can jump on. So
yeah, pretty much.
So we'll just go over the antagonists of the game. I'm just gonna go down your bulleted list because it's easier. So we have normal Metroids, which is not
the ones you remember from the first game.
Yeah, the Metroids that what you remember what a Metroid looks like. Those are at the end of the game, oddly enough. Again, and then we have the Alpha Metroids, which
that's the first one you will encounter.
Yeah, which aren't too bad. The first one the first Metroid you encounter is the Alpha. So name sounds a little daunting. It's just okay, whatever. It's the first boss, mini boss, whatever you want to call it. Then you have the Gammas, which they're not too bad. I don't have a problem with the Gammas at all, too. But the biggest thing with these Metroids is that you want missiles with these Metroids.
Yeah. You can only hurt them with missiles.
Yeah, you can't hurt them with your regular hand cannon. You have to use missiles, which is cool because I feel like the game really, really sets you up for success because it actually gives you a decent amount of refill stations.
Mm-hmm.
At least I thought it did in a way. Where I just didn't have much problem having a lack of missiles. Up until the end I did, because I don't think I found every missile pod. So when I got to the very final boss, I had some issue because I just didn't have everything. But for the most part, like, I didn't have the issue of like I did in Metroid 1, where I'm like, I don't have enough missiles to fight this thing, or I need to go farm missiles for 20 minutes to go fight Kraid or somebody like that. So the game definitely sets you up more for success in this. Is it easier than Metroid 1? I actually think the game is slightly harder than Metroid 1, but the game at least sets you up to where you're not going to smash your head against the wall to get through it.
Yeah.
Then you have your Zetas. Zeta,
I guess.
Zeta. Again, not a big issue at all. And same with your Omegas. The biggest thing with these is understanding the pattern of the Metroid. So, a lot of times the Metroids are going to come. I personally felt a lot of times the Metroids came at me pretty aggressively, but the pattern can be a little erratic at times. So even though they come at you right away, you know, in like a up and down pattern, if you move a little bit in Samus, like you go to like lower down segment or a higher up segment, their pattern erratically changes, and it becomes a lot more unpredictable of where they're actually going to go because of the pathing in the game. Even though some of them can go into the walls and through like temporary walls and things of that nature, some of the pathing to Samus is actually pretty erratic, and Samus won't be able to actually hit them at all. So you kind of have to adjust Samus a little bit to figure out like that sweet spot of where you can basically start rocking into the Metroids as they come at you, because when you hit them, they back up a little bit. There's a little bit of a knockback when you hit them, but also when they hit you, there is a knockback as well because it's a Metroid game. So it's a lot of finding that sweet spot, and obviously as we progress through the Metroids, the harder they actually are. And by hardness, I mean they're more aggressive and they take more shots to kill. So it's just a lot of like understanding just basically game mechanics at that point of how the Metroid reacts to Samus's location on the actual screen.
Yeah, and like again, keep in mind this is still on Game Boy, so they couldn't like do these epic boss fights. Of course, like
right.
they're all more like mini bosses, and they don't have that much different things going on for them at all. Like in my opinion, the biggest difference between the four of them is for the Gamma ones. They have this electric attack thing that they sometimes do, but all the other ones are basically just, even though they are bigger and they look more ominous in this game, at least, they are just coming at you, and you have to avoid them.
I will say the Metroids look cool though. Yeah, I thought the sprite work in this game, with the exception of like the base enemies that you just kill throughout the game, I thought the sprite work in this game was absolutely phenomenal, especially when it came to the bosses and Samus herself. Because they could have done Samus wrong easily in a Game Boy game, right? Because you don't have a lot of room to work with in a Game Boy game. So they could have done Samus real wrong, but like the sprite, like height, like everything, like proportionally works very well in this game. And Samus, even though being kind of like skinnier than you would normally see her in a Metroid game, still has a lot of attention to detail in her suit and in her actual like animation with like her high jumping. If you hold down the jump, you can do like the flips and everything else to jump higher. Like you're more like your transformations into Morph Ball and Spider Ball and things of that nature. Like they did a very good job with the actual sprite detail to the actual game, and the Metroids themselves look absolutely phenomenal, especially when they start to crack out of the shell or the egg and come out and start to attack Samus. And the fact that the game keeps the Metroid egg there and it shows that it's cracked is even cooler, in my opinion. It leaves a lot of like atmospheric like tension there of like, hey, like there was a Metroid fight here, or a Metroid is coming up, and then when you like go into like a Gamma or a Zeta or an Omega, you can watch the Metroid. If you can see the Metroid on screen, you can watch them basically evolve into this new Metroid as well too. So like there's a lot of like really cool and rich like animation and detail in the game for especially 1991.
Yeah, they did an amazing job for this one. Absolutely.
All right, so after you've taken out your 39 Metroids, which is interesting in how this game does the Metroids, because when you first start out the game, like, you're pretty consistently killing Metroids throughout the game, because there's 39 Metroids. There's a lot of Metroids to kill. Like, you're consistently doing 39 Metroids, and it's not I killed one Metroid, an hour later I kill another Metroid.
No.
It's I killed a Metroid, 10 minutes later I'm fighting another Metroid. They did a very nice job with that flow. But towards the end, you're like, wow, I still have like 15 Metroids I have to kill. It's Metroid. It just gets all thrown at you at once.
Yeah. Yeah, that is, of course, like we said, every environment is like its own kind of thing. You can kind of little bit see it in the manual, how it's spread out, but basically, like, the environment consists of just normal caves, but you also end up in like old ruins from the Chozos. Chozo, I think Chozo is already.
Think so as well.
Yeah. So the Chozo ruins you can find. You in this one you do find where the other team landed that I talked about during the plot section, but it's not distinguished enough, like you can see it. But eventually you end up in the nest, and that's indeed where suddenly they're just throwing Metroids at you from left to right. So it makes sense that there are more there from a aesthetic perspective, I guess. It's weird.
It's just funny how, like, the flow goes. It's like, I have 15 Metroids left. All of a sudden you enter the nest, and it's just a barrage of Metroids coming at you all of a sudden. I will say, like, one of the big annoying things with the Metroids is the ones that shoot like the electric beam out of them. Some of them are in like the temporary wall areas. Like, when you shoot a wall, you break it down, and after a while it comes back. There are some in those where, as you start to break the wall, you can see the outline of one, and after you get close enough, it will fly around in those temporary walls, and Samus can't hit them at all until they come out into the open-ish area where you shot and where you can just missile them. But there are times where, like, you're just like, this thing is right here and I can't hit it, and I can't shoot it. I can't break the blocks with a normal gun, because if I shoot into it, it counts as hitting the boss instead of the actual block. So you're just like at the mercy of waiting for this stupid enemy to come into the open to hit it. That is probably one of my bigger complaints when it comes to fighting Metroids, is that they can go into these blocks and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So
luckily there's only like 3 or 4.
It's only a few, but and they're tight corridors to fight into. You're not running around in those corridors fighting a Metroid.
Yeah.
So now, after you've defeated your 39 Metroids of all sorts and ran through your barrage or your Metroid army at the end, you now have to face off against the Queen. The Queen is basically the only boss fight in the game, in my opinion. Like, the Metroids themselves, like, were mini bosses, like, prepping you for this fight.
And there's also another mini boss called Arachnis. He's the one holding the spring ball. Like, he's the only other enemy in the game that takes more than 2 hits, basically. Plus, you fight him in a unique way. You can't even shoot him.
Yeah, you can't just spam missiles into him.
So, not to spoil how to fight him if you haven't yet, but yeah, it's different. But yeah, he's also a mini boss, basically, because he goes down pretty quickly. But the Queen, that's a whole other game. Yeah, you never know. The Queen is your boss fight, and oh boy, is it a boss fight.
Yeah, it takes 150 missiles to kill her. So, remember how we said those missile pods were important? Yep, those missile pods are important. I think when I fought her, I had, I think I had one upgrade over 150. Like, I had like the 160 or whatever, 155, 160. which means I couldn't miss many shots, and I died to the queen a lot because I missed a lot of shots. Um, um,
But
the nice thing about this game is if you approach a fight, you can run away from it.
Yeah.
So, unlike Metroid 1, in a way, from what I can remember, like once you go into the Kraid fight, you're in the Kraid fight until you kill Kraid, type deal. This game here, like if you go into a fight ill prepared, or if you're just like, oh crap, there's a Metroid, and like you have to like recompose yourself because you just weren't expecting it. You can literally just run away from it and just like recompose, restock, do whatever you need to do. Or if like you're mid fight with the queen, you're just like, oh, I ran out of missiles. Crap, like you don't have to die and spawn wherever you're going to spawn. You can just be like, all right, peace out for a little bit. I need to go get some missiles, which was a huge a huge thing to understand in this game. When I first played it, I just died because Metroid. But understanding that I can just run away from a fight was huge to know.
Yeah, it's very nice that they did that for the Queen as well. And I don't think in any other Metroid game you can do this. You're always locked into a boss fight, so this is the only one where you're able to be like, oh wait, I just have to go. I'll try and do it again without dying. Because even though there are plenty of save points in this game, they're all pretty far away from the point you need to reach usually. So it's nice to have a way to just escape in that regard.
Yeah, dying in this game, just like in any other Metroid game, sucks.
Yeah, it's not fun.
There's no good point of dying in a Metroid game, in any Metroid game. If you die, you're exploring again for another like 20 minutes to get back to where you were. At least, especially in the older Metroid games.
Yeah. But this game does have some very cool thing, just like Weapon actually says in the chat for people who are maybe looking at this live or on video later on. Yeah, this is, I guess, the first time that they put a quick kill in a Metroid game, and it's on the final boss in this case. Somehow I did this without knowing about it when I first played this game when I was a kid, so I was just messing around. But yes, if you do want to take down the queen normally, you can, and it will take you a lot of missiles, which takes a long time to fight even, and you still need to have enough of them, or otherwise you're going to have to go through the entire game again and look for those hidden missile upgrades. But there's just a way better way to fight her. The moment she actually bites you, you can shoot her, she will freeze, and you can just morph ball into her mouth and into her stomach and a bomb her from the inside, which was absolutely amazing to do. Like, I found that out as a kid and I was like, whoa, this is so awesome. And it's incredible that they put this in this game. Yeah.
I definitely did not do that. Definitely did not do that. I definitely fought the queen normally.
Yeah, and then it's like a 5-minute fight or even more.
Yep.
Yeah. But if you do the other method, I think you have to be eaten. She does spit you out, I believe, if I remember correctly. So you have to do it 3 times. Of course, you do need the other upgrade in this case. You do need those energy tanks because you are inside of her. She is using her stomach acid to fight you. So you do need to be able to survive that way to fight it. But it literally takes 20 seconds. So.
Yeah. Well, if I ever decide to play Metroid 2 again in my life, I'll remember that. Yep. No promises. Something that's really cool that we're doing this live is that people can actually see the box art now. We're about to talk about the box art of the game, and people can actually see the box art for Metroid, which I'm pretty stoked for. The box art for this game actually is interesting because before I dive into this, if you remember on the NES, there are 2 label variants for the Metroid. There is the yellow variant, and then there is the gray box variant. And the gray box variant shows off the pixeled portions of the game. Like, it shows Samus in her big scuba suit, basically, in pixel format. And it showcases some of the enemies in a pixel format in the background of that NES gray label. But in the NES yellow label, it has Samus squatting down with a hand on the ground and her hand cannon pointed up in the air. Which is interesting because on this box art, it's almost that exact same pose.
Almost, yeah.
Almost that exact same pose. So in this, going from bottom to top, we have Samus squatting down, but instead of her hand going to the ground, her hand is on her bicep, I guess you can call it, with the hand cannon shooting up. But there's something cool about the hand cannon in the rest of this box art, which I'll touch on in a second. But Samus is like standing on this like desert plain with like mountains, or whatever you want to call them in the background, like dunes and stuff like that. Definitely not in a cave like the game kind of depicts itself.
It's basically where she landed on the planet. But you don't see her spaceship.
Right. But as we go up, from the hand cannon is like this smoke. And in the smoke is like basically underlining the word Metroid. So it allows your eyes to flow very nicely into the title, which is big and bold right in your face. Metroid in a bright yellow font, 2 in Roman numerals behind the T and the R, and then underneath that, Return of Samus. And the Return of Samus is a part of the Roman numeral 2. It's in the bottom part of that line. And as we go up higher, there's a nightlight of stars and sky and everything else. I just think it's really interesting how, like, in the foreground they have Samus, but with the smoke, like, as you follow the hand cannon, it leads right into that title sequence, which I think is one of the better flowing box arts I think we've had in a while. So, and the cool thing about the title too, like Metroid 2, is that like it's something you would see in a cartoon. Like it's not cartoony in a way that it's cheesy, but it's big and bright in your face. Like it's very much early 90s like cartoon title, and it's very prominent right there. Like you know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's also like it's a very, very detailed image as well, because like just she basically looks like Iron Man, really, from indeed a comic book. But like when it comes to details, like you can even see the reflection of what's in front of her in the visor of the helmet, which they didn't need to do. It could have just been like a normal reflection on it, but you can actually make out some of the environment just from the reflection of the visor, which is really cool. It's a really well done drawing of Samus, and a really cool thing to have as a poster, which probably is available somewhere.
Probably,
I guess, yeah.
If not, I'm sure someone has made a fan-made version of this as a poster.
Yeah, but those can't be sold, so I don't know. Well, at least not legally. Let's just say
they can do whatever they want.
Because it's Nintendo, you know how they don't like people using their stuff for whatever reason.
Speaking of that, going into the trivia portion of another Metroid 2 remake.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, most people will know this exists, but if not, um, somebody made a fan game called Another Metroid 2 Remake. They actually named it that because there were already a lot of them out there, and it was just a fun title to call it. But yeah, this was a really, really, really amazing remake. This is actually my favorite version of Metroid 2, to be honest. But Nintendo saw that it got released because it got a lot of media attention, mostly thanks to Kotaku, because they always do that and they keep on doing it with every like fan-made game with a Nintendo property, and then it gets shut down immediately because you're not allowed to distribute Nintendo property, even if you're not asking money for it. You just can't do that. So yeah, this is, in my opinion, the best one out of 3 of them, because there's another remake from Nintendo themselves.
Nintendo.
Yeah, actually from Nintendo, called Metroid Samus Returns, which is on 3DS. And yeah, the weird thing was nothing was known about this actual remake by Nintendo until the fan remake came out, and then they had to let people know they were actually making one themselves. Yeah, I don't like that one that much. It's okay, for sure, but it has the same issues as Dread. And,
so a lot.
Well, a lot. Yeah, no, it's good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. For me, the fan remake is way better. So technically, you cannot get that game anymore. Technically. But there are, of course, ways. And besides that, like, a lot of people have put some more effort into the game, did some bug fixes and things like that. Originally, the game was in 4:3 format. Now you can play it at 16:9 format, which is the version I recently replayed. And yeah, it's just an amazing remake that does everything you are missing from the Game Boy version, because they couldn't do that, but yeah, put into the game, so it's even more atmospheric, and all the environments look different. It adds actual boss fights. All the Metroid fights are actual boss fights in this one. Yada yada yada. It just improves a lot upon what they made with the original.
Yeah, I've never played the remake. I think I watched people play AM2R. I definitely watched people play the licensed remake. But I've never played. I never played the remakes. I owned the Samus Returns remake. I was mad because the European people got the Steelbook Game Boy cartridge collector's edition.
I didn't get that one, no.
And Americans did not, and I was very upset about it. And I contemplated ordering one from Britain, England before Brexit, and then I didn't. Because
yeah.
I didn't because
Brexit.
It's expensive to order things from Europe and get it shipped to America, and I don't like Metroid that much, so I wasn't prepared to pay that much money for just a dumb steelbook. But I do own the game. I've never played it, but I do own it. It's one of like the 5 3DS games that I own. So,
yeah, I know you wouldn't enjoy it because it's basically like Dread. Well,
yeah, I probably would hate it then. So
yeah.
As a general reception of this game, the game was well received. It still is well received. The original is more well received than the remakes. So
yeah, I mean, I
so that's just telling how well they did the remake.
Again, the remake is totally fine. It's just not the same. That's all there is.
That's why they call it a remake. It's not a remaster. It's a remake.
It's a remake, yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, like I've never played the 2, but you know, I finally got to play this, so but yeah, I definitely would not like to remake if it's like Dread. But yeah, for general reception, the game was well received. Sold a decent amount of copies as well too, because Metroid, Game Boy, and heavily marketed with the Super Game Boy.
Yep.
Heavily marketed with the Super Game Boy. Although not Super Game Boy enhanced, it does have the colors to help it out. So, anything else you want to add to this section? Otherwise, we're gonna take a short-ish break.
No, that's about it. I think we've covered the game pretty well. If not, I'm sure somebody will let us know. But yeah, that's about all we can say about the game. We will go into our more personal, subjective thoughts about it, I guess, after the break. But yeah, I think this is as good as an overview you can get of Metroid 2 for sure.
Cool. Yeah, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll start with our memories and experience with the game. Both are very different, I promise. So yeah, stay tuned.
All right. With that, I'm actually taking a break to go to the bathroom, so I will be right back, everybody.
You still got me, chat, don't worry. M2R plays like a GBA version on crack. See, I don't like Game Boy Advance. The last Game Boy Advance game I played was Shin-Chan. This is super nice, bro. Here, I'll send you a picture of what this setup looks like after this episode's done. I have 3 monitors, right? There is no open real estate on 3 monitors right now. It was, I didn't expect to have so much stuff open. When I prepped last night. It's like I prepped I got most of the stuff set up last night or this morning before I went to bed. Because I didn't go to bed until like 3. And so I had a lot of stuff prepped and ready to go. And then like as soon as time came, I'm like, you know what? I can just sleep in a little bit longer because I was gonna wake up at 10 to like finish it. I'm like, nah, I can sleep in a little bit longer. So I rolled out of bed at like 11:30, which for me the stream starts at 12 because I'm in Central Time Zone. And then I start setting things up, and I'm just like, oh my god. I'm like, okay, how do I get Mo's video? How do I get chat onto here? Because I don't have like the chat extension because I can't log into RGL stuff. And it's like, how do I do this? I'm like, oh my god. Like, how am I going to do all of this stuff? So I was just like, alright. Like, the thing you think would be the most complicated was like the video playing right now. But that was the easiest thing to set. That was the easiest piece to set up. The hardest piece was legit the hardest piece to do was putting chat on screen. That was legit the hardest piece of the puzzle. But we got there though. We got it live, so I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the layout as well too. It matches our YouTube stuff quite a bit. There's a nice continuity there. Although I do wish Mo made the chat window transparent. But yeah, hopefully y'all been enjoying this. This is, like I said, pretty different than what we've done in the past, so. But yeah, the last Game Boy Advance. What was the last Game Boy Advance game I played? Oh, it was Boktai 1. Like, I briefly played it for like 30 minutes. Which is a Hideo Kojima game. Played that briefly. That was the last Game Boy Advance game I played. The last Game Boy Advance game I played and beaten was, I guess, Aria Sorrow. But otherwise, it was Shin-Chan.
Alright, I'm back. Thanks. Water bottle number 2.
I just finished my G Fuel. I'm ready to go back to bed, so.
Oh my god.
I wish caffeine woke me up. Alright, you ready?
Yeah.
Alright. Alright, welcome back everybody. So, thoughts about the game. We'll start with you, though, since you actually like this game, and judging by what you wrote, you actually have a bit of a history with this game.
I wouldn't say that really, but I just
well, you wrote more than I did, so
on here. Yeah. So I did actually not have this game when I was a kid, but I borrowed it from a friend. After I got the Super Game Boy, actually, because I had that book and I saw the screenshots of it. And I had no idea what Metroid was. I'd never played the NES one either or anything like that, so this was my first one, and I absolutely loved this game, mostly because it was way different than anything else I had played so far on Game Boy, because I played Tetris, I played R-Type, I played like Super Mario Land, and those are all like quote-unquote very short games and very like cute games, or even like Kirby's Dream Land or something is just like a very cute game, and this was like totally different. Like I always grew up watching like horror movies, even though I was way too young for them and things like that. So when I played this immediately gave me that like weird feeling from the start of the game, even with that intro song basically putting you like right in the correct atmosphere for playing this, and you're so closely tied to the screen that you totally immerse yourself into the world. And yeah, I know the new one is called Metroid Dread, but this one has more dread in it than anything from that new game, so I really loved it, and I didn't get that feeling again from playing like a horror game until Silent Hill Origins on PSP, because it was basically the same deal, like me in my bed with my PSP in the dark, playing a scary game, really. So, yeah, and I'm also really glad this was the first Metroid game I ever played, because if I would have played the NES one before this, I would have lost complete interest in ever playing any of the other games, in my opinion. Because yeah, I played the original one way later in my life, and I was like, I really do not like this game very much. It's way too complicated for what it is, and way too hard for what it is. I do think that this game hasn't aged super well, especially because I feel the controls are kind of finicky from time to time, especially the jumping in the game doesn't always work the way it's supposed to work. Like there's a lot of times where you're trying to do a high jump or like even a space jump, and it just doesn't work and you fall straight down. And there are a lot of really long vertical like sections in this game where you really need to be on point with the jumping, and like the same thing goes for maybe people who play this game now, especially if you've played later ones from Super Metroid onwards, like again, this game doesn't have a map or anything that shows you where items are or where you've been and things like that. So that might be off-putting for sure for people who haven't checked this game out. And in that case, I do recommend playing another Metroid 2 remake. Then you just get the best of both worlds, basically. So yeah, I think that's pretty much what my thoughts and the history on this game are for me. So yeah, let's hear what you have to say.
So my first Metroid game was OG Metroid for the NES. I had it as a kid. I had the gray label as a kid. I actually didn't know a yellow version existed until I was like 25. Then I bought one for $5. So I'm just curious at how much that label is worth now. So, because Metroid collecting is ridiculous. I knew Metroid 2 existed for the Game Boy as a kid, because I enjoyed Metroid 1, but I was really picky on Game Boy games because like Game Boy, like I didn't have many Game Boy games growing up, so like I had to be really picky on them. So I would choose games that I knew about, so like what friends already owned, because like we didn't really borrow each other's games growing up either. Just the nature of just how my friend group was. So what we would do is that we would play them at recess. We would swap at recess, and then give them back at the end of recess. Then that's how we knew if we wanted the game or not. So like I had like Super Mario Land 3, like I knew I wanted it because I played it, because a friend owned it. There were exceptions like Pokemon, for example, right? Like when Pokemon came out, I was like, I want to have Pokemon. But
of course,
right. But for the most part, like what we had was this: we swapped games at recess, and be like, I want, and you could never beat them at recess. So we want them to play them and beat them. So, none of my friends had Metroid 2, and it being a Game Boy game, I figured it would be very different than Metroid 1, which it is, but in a good way, obviously. So I just never bought it. I knew it existed, but I never bought it because I remember seeing it in a Nintendo Power as well. Although I wasn't a subscriber to Nintendo Power, when you're a 91, when you're a 6-year-old kid that walks into a Kmart or a grocery store, there's like a big rack of magazines, and one of them happens to be, like Gamer Pro and tips and tricks and stuff like that.
Right.
You're supposed to buy the magazine to read them, but as a 6-year-old, you're just gonna walk up to the magazine rack and read them.
Yeah.
Like who's gonna stop you? No one. So I remember seeing this game all over the place. It was heavily promoted in magazines, especially Nintendo Power. So knew about it, never played it until last week. I never played Metroid 2 until last week. So
yeah,
I've watched Mo play the game multiple times. I've watched people play another Metroid 2 remake many times. I've watched a few people play the Metroid 2 license remake a few times. I've watched speedruns of Metroid 2. Like I watched Behemoth and McFly and Cool Kid a long time ago. Like I'm talking like beginning of my Justin TV, Twitch TV days. Like I've watched people speedrun the game. I've just never had the interest to play it. Simply because I lost my love for Metroid for how bad like the series like deviated. So like the last Metroid game I played before Dread was Super Metroid when it was released. So I still have my childhood copy of Super Metroid. And I loved Super Metroid. And then I played the next Metroid I would play after that was Other M. Which I hated hated. I played it for 45 minutes, hated it. To the point where I threw the disc back into the shelf and I actually unattached my Wii.
Oh my god!
I did not like Other M at all. So I never
really like Other
I
M,
never
actually,
played a Metroid game since.
Right.
So my last real Metroid was Super Metroid. And then when Metroid Dread was announced, I was like, I'll give them like, okay, this looks a little bit like Super Metroid. You know, like, I'll give it a shot. So I gave Metroid Dread a shot. Hated it. Absolutely hated Metroid Dread. And I was like, and then Mo was watching me play Metroid Dread on stream, and he goes, "Yeah, we're gonna do Metroid 2 for Game Boy for This Is Game Boy podcast." I was like, as I'm struggling in Metroid Dread, so so I literally procrastinated playing Metroid 2 to like the last minute. Played it last week, and there were a lot of parts I didn't like about it. The space jumping is atrocious. The space jumping is really bad in 2, which I expected it to be bad in Metroid 2 because it's a Game Boy game. I don't know why. Like, I love Game Boy, but I just inherently expected it to be bad in Game Boy. And it was bad in Dread, so I guess it's just a bad skill in general. Like, I hated space jumping. I'd be like, you know what? I'm at the apex of my jump. Why aren't you letting me jump again? Rock to the bottom again. It's like, cool. I can't wait to scale this again. Like, this is dumb. Oh, and then a spider ball, and I randomly get hit by something. I just fell 30 feet because if you get hit while in spider ball form, you just fall.
Yep.
So, and there's no defense when you're in spider ball form. It's just you're open to attack. So like, oh, I spent 10 minutes getting on the ceiling. Hit, fell. Cool, I'll spend another 10 minutes getting on the ceiling, because if you kill the enemy and come back, it respawns because you left the screen. Yes. So I got mad about that. The hidden paths I expected, but some of them were just so weird, like placed in weird spots. Because like hidden paths, you know, they exist in OG Metroid. They super exist in Super Metroid. So, you know, like, obviously I would expect them to exist in Metroid 2. But, like, where I would expect them to be, some were, and others were just in this weird, like, offshoot area that I would just, like, never expect to look. And I'm just like, why is there a tunnel right here? Like, this doesn't make any sense to have, like, a hidden tunnel at all. And then, like, there's one part where, like, the screen is covered in blocks that you can just jump and fall through, but you just have to know what block that you can jump on. Like, there, I don't remember what area it is, but, like, it's, like, I don't know, like, half-ish maybe through the game. And you have to find a Metroid in this area, too, mind you.
Oh, yeah,
so, like,
yeah,
as you're falling, like, there's this long fall, and the screen is covered in, like, this rock texture block. But none of it is actual, like, platform, except for a couple of them here throughout. But you don't know which one that you can jump on until you start jumping like a maniac and happen to land on one. And it's just like, why? Why can't you just distinct the one rock from the rest of them that I can jump on? Like, why does this have to be a damn mystery? And then you get hit by the Metroid and knocked down, and the Metroid doesn't follow you. He just hangs out at the top the entire time, so you have to climb back up the damn space room again, and oh god, some pieces of this game just drove me nuts. It drove me insane. What other part? Like, I actually really liked the way that it saved and did the refill stuff. I actually don't like it when the save rooms do the recharging as well too, because to me that just kind of defeats a lot of like the atmosphere from the game. Because like in the like you want to feel like there's danger in the game. Like, that's the point of a Metroid game. Like, when I played OG Metroid when I was a kid, like, I very much was like, I watched the Alien movies as a kid. Again, we grew up in a very different generation where, a 5-year-old could watch Alien 1 and 2 and be perfectly fine.
Yep.
But, I remember watching Alien as Species and all those other movies growing up. And I remember playing Metroid 1 and being like, wow, this is really like Alien in a sense. Had the same atmosphere to it and everything else. And Ripley and Ridley, they're pretty similarly named. But and that's what I don't like about the recharge stations is that you want that sense of danger in these types of games because they very much derive from things like Alien and Species and other spacebound horror inspired books or movies.
Yeah.
So when a room is your save and your recharge, that kind of takes away a lot of that danger element to it because you just do everything at one shot. Meanwhile, you save, but you maybe only have one missile. You're like, oh, I need to figure out how to get missiles, or oh, I need to figure out how to get health. There's a danger element still to it. Yes, you saved, but there's still an element of I can still die right here. I need to be careful.
Yeah.
Which I did appreciate about Metroid 2 quite a bit. I also liked the atmospheric music in Metroid 2 as much as I just rip on the music in Metroid 2. The music itself wasn't meant to be banger OST. It was very much meant to put you or immerse you into Xebius. Or Xebies, or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah. Well, as R338 in this case.
Yeah. So I understand the concept of the OST and why it is the way that it is. I do wish there was some music. I do wish there was some music from Metroid 1 because a lot of music from Metroid 1 does get carried throughout the entire series. The theme of Metroid 1, that is a very well-known song in the Metroid franchise. There's just a lot of songs in general, and I wish they kind of used a little bit of that in Metroid 2, just to give you a little bit of break from the tink, tink, bing, bing, bing noises the entire time. But I do understand where they were coming from with it. Graphically, I thought this game was really good, but I wish it had more color to it. As much as I liked the yellow and red, Game Boy coloring scheme that it the Super Game Boy coloring scheme it gave it, you could have done a little bit more with the Super Game Boy Color palette, and I get it was very early on, but I wish they would have gave it a little bit more color depth to it, because after a while, it hurts. After a while, it hurts a little bit to look at, because there is a lot of attention to detail in the game, and I think that attention to detail could have been pushed even further with a little bit deeper color palette. So, especially if you're on play it on the Super Game Boy.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I forgot to mention with my thoughts. They do their best to make all areas look distinct, but they could only do so much on Game Boy. So in the end, everything does look very samey.
Yeah, and I get that it would look the same on just a regular Game Boy, right? It's going to be green. It's going to be one of 4 shades of green. I understand that. Yep. But the Super Game Boy had so much more that it could do in terms of palette, right? So if you're going to make a default palette, try and make a default palette that maybe enhances a bit more of the detail of the game.
Yeah.
That's things
definitely why you should use the ones in the Super Game Boy book. Yeah. I only used one because, in my opinion, that was the only one that actually looked good. But if you follow the quote-unquote guide in the Super Game Boy book, they make you change the palette for every section you go to, so it gives you that feeling of being in a different area. But some of them
they're real bad,
absolutely ugly. So I don't even want to change to them. But yeah,
why would you want to change your palette every time you go to a new area? Why would you want to do that?
It's just
I understand. I understand why, but as a player, I'm gonna be so immersed in this game, I'm like, I'm not gonna remember to hit L and R and change my palette, So
yeah. Yeah, there is one of them that I know that is in there that the colors of the environment and the gameplay are really cool, but the HUD with everything on it is literally not readable. So that one is like, why would I pick this one? But yeah, it's a cool concept, and I like that because that's the only game in that book that is like so varied. Like, hey, you can use this and this to make it look more like that, and it's a really cool concept for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I thought was weird with the game is that when you kill a Metroid, instead of it going from like 20 to 19 or 19 to 18 right away, it's just there in rolls for like 5 seconds, and then it goes down. Then it goes down one number, and it's like, you already know how many Metroids are left. Why do we need to have this like roll for 2 seconds? Like, just count it down. Like, this is unnecessary.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And the other thing I don't like, and this is a general Metroid dislike, is I don't understand the story to Metroid at all. Like, I don't get the lore. Period. I'm not even gonna respect the lore because I just don't understand it. In that every time Samus goes to a new planet, she magically loses her power-ups. Her power-ups are attached to her suit. Like, how is she losing her suit every time she goes to a new planet? She's not, because she's in the damn suit as soon as she gets out of her ship. She's not naked. Unless you put in a code, she's not wearing, normal clothes. She's wearing her suit. How is she losing her power-ups? I don't understand why I have to get new power-ups every time I play a Metroid game. It's never explained. Like, she lands on a planet with her ship, and now she has to figure out how to morph into a ball again? Like, what the hell?
It does get explained, but it's like always in the manual or something. There's always some reason she loses her power-ups. No.
Does she change her suit every time she goes on a new mission? She's like, today this mission doesn't want this suit. I'm going to wear this suit today.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's not always the same suit at all. Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yeah, it is dumb, but it is a video game. It's like the same with Mega Man. Like, oh, he got all these power-ups from these robots, but in the next one, whoops, I don't have those anymore.
Mega Man's explainable. He's a robot. So they can just wipe his memory, right? They can just plug a USB stick in and be like, all right, let me just re-download that data and just like wipe you real quick and let you go. Like, Mega Man's explainable because it's a robot. Samus is an actual person in a suit.
You're taking way too much of it. It's the same like the start of Kingdom Hearts 3, where it's like, I've done all of these things. I just did whatever happened in Dream Drop Distance. I don't remember anymore. And then Yen Sid is like, so you forgot all your abilities. You have to redo it all again. Right. It's just dumb, but you have to start from nothing. Otherwise, it's not a fun game anyway. So.
Well, I mean, I'd be fine starting from nothing if they would just explain why I start from nothing. Don't put it in a damn manual. They do
explain it in Metroid.
Don't put it in a manual, because I'm never going to read it. Unless I do a podcast episode about it.
Oh, boy.
I don't know. That's my biggest complaint with this Metroid in general. is just that. My other complaint with Metroid 2, well, not Metroid 2, but Metroid as well, is, although I think they do very well with the environments in their games, I feel like the environments are almost always recycled.
It's the same themes for sure.
Yeah, like it's the same theme over and over and over again. Like, I love what they do atmospherically. Like, even Dread, like, as much as I hated that game, I really enjoy the atmosphere of Dread, with the exception of those goddamn Emmys. I love the atmosphere of Dread, but even in Dread, like, it suffered the same fate as every other Metroid that I can remember, is that the areas were similar to one another. Like, Metroid 1 to Metroid 2, like I can just, even though like there's a color difference, obviously, I can distinctly tell like this is very similar to what Metroid 1 had. This is very similar to what Super Metroid had. Like they're very like interconnected at that point, but I wish like you're going to these different planets. Like how do all of these different planets look the same? You know, like
Metroid is easy. It's cave zone, water zone, lava zone, temple zone, and mechanical zone, and it's always like that in every one of them. Like that's just how it is.
And then there always has to be this huge vertical section in a Metroid game too. It has to be like you have to have a huge vertical section, whether it's space jumping in the old Metroids or sparking in the newer Metroids. Like you have to have a huge vertical section. It's just it's law to have that in a Metroid game.
It's the trope. It has to be there.
It's law to have it in a Metroid game. You have to have it. If you don't, you broke the law. Yeah, that's thoughts and history of Metroid for me. Like I want to like the series, I really do. Like I love Alien movies. Like that entire franchise, I adore. Even the bad movies. Same with Species, but like I just like for Metroid, like I love Metroid speedruns, but I don't like Metroid games casually. Like even the newer Castlevania games, I have a hard time playing. Like Aria Sorrow, for example, like the Castlevania games, right? Or like the Metroidvania games. I just have a hard time playing because they bore me super fast. I hate backtracking in video games. Hate backtracking in video games. Like my number one pet peeve in a video game, backtracking.
Yeah, I love all of those not to be named genre games. Oh.
Like that was the thing with like Aria Sorrow. I was like, I went into this hallway 4,200 times. Like, why do I need to go in this hallway 4,200 times? Like, why? Just like open up a door so I can just move on. Like,
oh boy,
I just and like it's just not my cup of tea. Like the genre is just not my style. Like I know Mo likes these types of games. Mo loves these types of games, and I know that. But for me, like I'm one of those people that I was just like, I don't mind it for like the first hour. But after like hour 9 of seeing the same goddamn hallway, like I just don't want to see it again. Like I just want to like there's got to be more to it. So
yeah. Well, luckily this is the only game on Game Boy that is like this. So
it's true. It is. Well, no, Night Quest is very similar as well too. It's an RPG, but yeah, I like open world games, which is you would think is bizarre because that's all I see the same damn tree 4,200 times as well. So, but I think it's just the type of gameplay as well too, because like it's a platformer adventure game. But yeah, I'm just seeing the same platform over and over and over again without rhyme or reason, except just to go through it because the game makes me go through it. Versus like an open world game, like I choose to go that path because it's the fastest path there, right? So.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. There's my rant about Metroid and how much I want to enjoy the series but can't because of weird, deep thinking of the game.
Oh man.
I mean,
well,
look, make a game that makes sense and I might like it. All right, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Make a game that makes sense, and I might like it. Assassin's Creed doesn't make sense. It's my favorite franchise, but
yeah, for all of you homebrew developers, if you ever want to make a Metroid-styled game, please explain everything.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a sequel to a game where I lose my powers magically, like explain why I lost my powers magically. Like, is it amnesia? Like, is it early on? Is it early onset? Alzheimer's. Like, what's going on here? Like, why can't Samus remember what the hell's going on? How come she can't remember to form into a ball after she's done it 42 times previously? Like, how does she lose the ability to her? I just get so mad at that kind of stuff.
Make it skippable.
I get so upset. with that kind of thing. I don't know why. I don't know why I do. It makes me mad. I'm like, there is inconsistency in the story, and I'm upset. Even though I will never read the story and will never remember the story, but the fact that I know there's an inconsistency in the story, I am upset. It's like Kirby, for example, right? There's so much inconsistency with Kirby. You read the Kirby mangas, Kirby's a goddamn psychopath, but yet you play the Kirby games, he's the nicest thing in the world. Yet, even though he was eating Waddle Dees since 1992, and Nintendo came out and said Waddle Dee's his friend.
Yes.
Like, what? Like, why am I eating my friends? Like, I don't understand. There's so much inconsistency in Kirby as well, too, and it drives me nuts.
Oh boy. Well, there was the rant for this episode for sure.
Oh,
I thought we were escaping it, but nope.
No, there's no escaping rants. It tastes like chicken. Pointy chicken because they have spears. Ugh. But yeah, no, there we go. Oh, my camera. Hello, camera. Focus? No, you're not gonna focus? Alright, that's cool. There we go. What do we got left now? Oh yeah, we got outro stuff now. Oh no, we got speedrun. The small, like 30-second speedrun section. Been a while.
Well, you know more about the speedrun than I do. I just know we had it in the first Tiny 10, where we only played up until the first earthquake, and I actually really liked doing that because it was like 7 minutes to get there. It was really fun. But I don't know much about the
I wouldn't say I know a lot about the speedrun. I know a bit about the speedrun. So the two major categories, I guess, is any percent no out of bounds and 100% no out of bounds. Both of which are held by world record person Behemoth87 from England, who has been the world record holder forever in this game. He did get contended by Metroid McFly for a while, and then McFly stopped speedrunning. But they both had a back and forth for a while for record, because I know McFly came in pretty hot into this game after OG Metroid. Because he was doing trilogy runs. He was doing Metroid, Metroid 2, Metroid 3, I guess. Super Metroid.
Yeah.
There is a 100% category record by C. Scotty W, and a low percent, again, held by Behemoth. The game does record RTA and in-game time, so just like every other Metroid game, this does have an in-game timer as well.
Yep.
Any percent world record for this, I'm just going to use RTA time because it's easiest, is 51 minutes 58 seconds. So for a Game Boy speedrun, this is long. This is a long Game Boy speedrun.
Yeah.
Typically a Game Boy speedrun is around like 15-20 minutes.
Well, it is a pretty lengthy game because it's right up there with all the other normal 2D Metroids, to be honest, lengthwise. Yeah. Right.
100% no out of bounds is 55 minutes 59 seconds. So not too much different from any percent, probably because you still need to get a shit ton of missiles. So like they're probably just deviating for the health power-ups in the spring ball. And 100% no out of bounds. 100%, this is with out of bounds, is 56 minutes 10 seconds by C. Scotty. And low percent, 1 hour 14 minutes 57 seconds. Low percent is you must only collect the following items: bombs, ice beam, and 1 energy tank.
Wow, okay. That sounds super scary.
Yeah. So, low percent sounds brutal. It actually, low percent sounds like ice beam any percent in OG Metroid. So, which is not easy. There is an any percent category with no runners.
Okay, that's odd.
Even the category rules aren't even fleshed out. So I'm assuming they may have found something crazy with the game and don't know what to do with it yet.
That sounds like
because the game is still actually pretty actively ran by Behemoth and C. Scotty. So In terms of tools, if you do want to speedrun the game or learn to speedrun the game, there isn't any percent task for this game. The task is actually pretty damn cool to watch. And there is a Metroid 2 Discord server as well. You can find that information on speedrun.com/m2/resources. M2 being Metroid 2. As for guides, there are a handful of guides out there. There's some no out of bounds beginner tutorials created by... Who was it made by? Flipside 208. These are fairly old, like 2 years old now, but at least gets you an introduction into the speedrun. It teaches you how to do fast fall technique in the game. So instead of like jumping off of the edge or walking off the edge, you can actually do something where you can like kind of like corner yourself onto a platform and make Samus fall faster. So it makes the falling down vertical segments a lot quicker. And then there is one from Behemoth himself who went through and gave you room strategies throughout the game. So there's, like I said, the guides that are there are very helpful for beginner speedrunners. So again, if you're interested in the Metroid 2 speedrun, speedrun.com/m2 if you want to check out any of that stuff. Available platforms is 3DS Virtual Console, Super Game Boy 2, obviously, Game Boy Player, GBI, the Game Boy interface, and obviously Game Boy. So,
fleshed out speedrun for sure when it comes to Game Boy.
It is a very fleshed out speedrun.
Yeah.
Okay. What we got here? Pull up the notes again here. Blah 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 blah. We're on community events now. Yeah. All right. Community events. This is my part. This is my.
That
segment.
is definitely your part. Yeah.
This is my segment. I need to pull up Discord for this because I have important things to talk about via RGL. And they're somewhere in this DM that are lost right now. First and foremost, Mo's gonna be frozen because I don't have him focused. Oh, well, at least he's not making a dumb face. So there we go.
Hopefully, I can see it.
You're back. You're not making a dumb face anymore.
All right.
All right. We have RGL's Retrothon. That's right. Retrothon is coming back in 2022. Submissions will open today, I believe, after we are done airing this episode. So submissions will be open from today until February 20th, and the marathon will start April 16th here at Retro Gaming Live TV. Other things we have going on.
Well, actually, it's opened up now, I guess, because Anne said that we had to post the link in chat when we announced it. So, if you wanna submit, there you go.
Well, there you go. And then we have more. We have more. I have to find it all right now. Yeah. Okay. We have more. So the staff at RGL is putting on RG Love 2022. It ranges from, oh god, hold on. Everyone hold on. I gotta stretch out a window.
From the 13th until
I had to stretch out a window from February 13th through the 20th, and that schedule is available now as well too.
Oh yeah, let's see if I can.
A lot of banger games in this schedule as well. I'm actually really excited to watch it.
I'm totally in the wrong channel here. Oh no, we can't share it. Never mind. It says there, don't share it, so I'm not sharing it.
Yeah, don't share it. Okay. RGL also Burger Time Deluxe. Oh my god. RGL also has a Burger Time Score knockout tournament February 26th. And a Bomb Squad and Television knockout tournament March 12th. There we go. There's some upcoming events as well too with RGL. Also, we're getting into marathon season again, boys and girls. We're out of the holiday season now. Very much out of the holiday season. Not video game centric at all, but I do know Power Up with Pride is doing a board game marathon, which is actually, or a tabletop marathon rather, which is actually a pretty interesting concept. It's not speedrun focused by any means, but you can get to watch some people of that community play tabletop games, which is something that not many people stream at all. So it's actually pretty cool to hear and pretty cool to watch. I'm actually excited to watch some of that. I'm sure there is more. Everyone hold on. Everyone hold on again. Okay. ESA Winter 2022 is coming up. February 12th, if you want to watch that. That is the European Speedrun Assembly, so the European version of GDQ, basically. Yeah. On February 12th, go ahead and watch ESA Winter. Mid-Spring Speed Fling 2022 is happening April 1st through April 3rd. This is an on-site event for a comic book convention in the area that I live. So Mid-Spring Speed Fling is put on by Midwest Speed Fest, which is a small group of people in the speedrun community in the Midwest of America, so Minnesota, Wisconsin, etc., that get together and put on a 3-day weekend marathon for charity. And this time they are making it an on-site event, so obviously there will be some protocol to follow since the world isn't back to normal yet. Right. Unfortunately. So, and with that, I think that's pretty much all I have for marathons. Obviously, GameStone, if you're into the GDQ stuff, GDQ is always doing something all year round at this point. Between Hotfix and Frame Fatales. The new speedrunning, the getting into speedrun show now, I believe it's called. They have a lot of segments out there now. If you need a speedrun kick as well too, along with Retro Gaming Live TV, always putting stuff and content out there as well too, with various different console raffles and streamers streaming various things as well too throughout their library and other things. So definitely not a lack of retro or speedrunning content out there, especially nowadays. It's crazy. I remember my days on Twitch and Justin TV. It was hard to find anything retro because you couldn't capture anything retro unless you had a crappy dazzle that you couldn't see 3 pixels in front of you on. Look where retro is now. We can emulate hardware with a computer and make it look pixel perfect without any blurring. And capture anything. And there's knockoff consoles to let you connect things HDMI and not run accurately as well. It's great. Love the retro world right now. I think I covered everything marathon related. I think. Probably. If not, it'll be in the next episode. So yeah, the closing. This is my favorite part because it's always consistent. I need to scroll up in the notes to remember how to do the outro. I didn't do the outro right in my light at all, and it was pretty awesome.
Do we ever do this right? That is all right.
The next piece is listener questions.
Well, we don't have any, so that's easy.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Red chat?
I did read chat. Like the ones that came up, we did actually like answered, but not like immediately, if that makes sense. So
indirectly answered them.
Yeah. No, so basically that's fine. We didn't get any on our Discord, so
we got a lot of cool memes on Discord though.
That is true.
Always the memes on Discord. I do like your GIF though, the baby.
The baby.
I like that.
I love that video.
I'm a big fan of those little shorts. Especially the Kirby ones.
The Kirby ones are
so good. And the Mega Man ones too. The Mega Man ones are funny. Anyone in the Retro Gaming Life TV chat have any questions about Metroid or the podcast? Because this is our first episode on RGL TV. Or any questions about your two wonderful hosts so far? If not, we can definitely move into my favorite part of the podcast, which is just talking for like 20 minutes straight without breathing.
Right. I'm trying not to forget anything. No, I think we're good on questions. Otherwise, we can always talk about them later. Then Lex just has to edit them in. Not my problem.
True. All right. Take that, Legs. All right. I gotta stretch a little bit for this one. All right. Thoughts and suggestions are always welcomed for the podcast, whether you do it in our Discord, that this is Game Boy Discord, whether you're on DM, Mo, Legs, or I, come into our Twitch chat. Just don't be mean in my Twitch chat, because I'll probably end up banning you, because I don't time people out. I just ban people. It's easier. It's less drama. Like if I time out a person, they can come back in like 10 minutes and just be a dickhead again, or I can just ban them and they just can't talk ever again in my chat. So, it's just easier to ban people.
Jesus.
So if you're gonna be mean in my chat, either expect me to throw it back at you or just ban you, depending on my mood. And Mo knows how mean I can get too, so
it's true. Yeah.
Twitter us, tweet us. Man, I'm a boomer after that one. You can tweet at us. You know, we're pretty responsive on Twitter. Legs might not be, but Mo and I are in a way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can find me, eBloodyCandy, on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I guess kind of TikTok, I guess too. I made one TikTok of me being disgusted at a person, so you can watch me be disgusted at somebody. And yeah, where can they find you, Mo?
You can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram, all with the same thing. The name you can see on screen, maybe. So, did you put it there? I'm not sure.
No, I didn't.
But it's in the title here, I know. But it's Moelle, which is Moelleuh, for all four of them. So that's easy.
I was wondering why. I was like, when I put this thing on, I was like, why aren't the names up there? I'm like, the icons are good enough. Whatever. Just finished. I was like, whatever. Yeah, this is good.
I just didn't put it on the layout because text I like to leave out of a layout.
That's fair. Yeah, that's two less things I had to put on the screen. And then you can find our awesome producer, SprintingLegs. SprintingLegs on Twitch and Twitter, Legs on YouTube, and then her project website, www.sprintinglegs.com, which is where you can also find the Game Boy manual database that we've been working on. If you go to, I forgot what it's called, gbmanuals.com, you will be presented with a list of Game Boy list of Game Boy games with a search functionality that you can search for your Game Boy game, and if we have a scan of the manual, you will be able to download the manual in a PDF format, most of them are probably going to be in English, but we do have some foreign language formatted manuals as well from the European region and some from the Japanese region.
Yeah, we're always looking for the ones we don't have, so if you do have the opportunity and the manual available yourself, feel free to scan it in and you can submit it through that website. I think we have like 25% of the manuals on Game Boy right now.
With manuals,
there's still plenty to submit, and even if it's just a different version of the one that is there, I mean, anything is much appreciated.
Gray cards were almost at 27%, and then black and gray cards were at 22%.
Right.
And just an idea of what I mean earlier when I'm scanning manuals for legs, all of these manuals right here we don't have in the database. Yeah. So it's a pile of manuals that we don't have yet that I'm slowly scanning through. So there is definitely still a lot of work to be done. And Legs is going to see this video and give me a very angry emote in the DM probably about that giant pile of manuals I still need to scan for her.
Yeah,
but to be fair, I've submitted 4 manuals and she hasn't approved a single one yet. So I'm just saying, like, I've done my job so far.
Me too.
I scanned Wizardry 3 manual, which was like 62 pages. All right, like I've done my job. All right. With that, okay, so we have other things now. So we have a Patreon, which we need to rethink a little bit now that we're doing episodes on RGL. But we do have a Patreon where if you want to support us monetarily, you get access to behind the scenes, like bloopers and other things, our notes. You get a premiere. You get an early premiere of our Haunt Hunter series. I couldn't think of the word. You get a sneak peek premiere of the Haunt Hunter series, which is Mo and I playing horror games. Right now, The Bunker is in the early release premiere right now, which is a post-apocalyptic game where you're stuck in a nuclear bunker and you have to decide whether to leave or not. Point-and-click adventure game. The most recent release was Pony Island, played by Mo himself. So,
that one is publicly available.
That one is publicly available. Yep. We have other pieces of the Patreon, but I'm not going to say them because we need to rethink them now.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to have the goal to do these things live, but because RGL now asks us to do them live, we're just doing them live. So yeah.
I think you get a store discount code too, don't you? If you're a Patreon. Or is that a one-time thing? I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure the code still works. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Get it while it's hot. Right. If Patreon's not your thing because everything in the world is subscription-based, get it. I hate subscriptions as well, too. We do have PayPal. The only thing with PayPal is if you do go through PayPal, please let the one of 3 of us know so we can thank you. Because PayPal doesn't tie into literally anything video game related unless it's donations. There's no good hooks into Discord or anything at all. So please let one of us know. We want to thank you, give you rewards, things of that nature. Obviously, we're not done with the money piece yet. We have a merch store. We're gonna keep selling out here because this is what we do every podcast episode now.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep selling out until we can't sell out anymore. We have a merch store, merch.thisisgameboy.com. I always forget that URL, where you can get yourself a shirt and a mug. Every once in a while, we do have limited edition shirts that do pop up. We had one last July with the launch of the merch store.
There
it is.
I'm not wearing it because I literally just washed it, so I wasn't gonna put on the same shirt again. But yeah, this is the limited edition one. But like, if it's not limited edition, just this card is gone. That's it. But it's just
you don't get the little Game Boy cart. You just get the Game Boy.
Yeah,
with the microphone.
And yeah, the design is by me, but the actual finished drawing was by Man Over Mars.
Yeah,
who made it? Yeah.
If you look right here, because I'm not going to get up and get it, right there where my finger pointer is, that's the coffee cup. I was very adamant on getting coffee cups, and yes. I won the war, and I was correct to put them up. But we do have the merch store. The shirts are actually pretty nice. Not to super sell out. The shirts are kind of nice. They're not like the super off-brandy shirts that you would get from like other type of resellers. They actually use shirts like Hanes and Gildan, so
yeah,
at least reputable names to print onto the shirts. And the screen print lasts. I've washed my shirt probably 10 times by now, and my screen print isn't cracked or faded or anything. So
yeah, nice mine is still the same. And I had the prototype shirt actually. So
wow, sell that on eBay for millions. Retro Podcast prototype T-shirt. Starting bid $500.
Yeah, they're good shirts. Like,
all right, we're done selling out. Obviously, money isn't everything, and a lot of people don't have money, especially right now with the way the world kind of is. Listening to the podcast is huge support enough. Like, I don't even know what our numbers are anymore, but we've gotten to the point where like we've very much excelled past numbers that I would ever expect us to ever achieve as a Game Boy niche podcast. So that started on SoundCloud by 3 people that had no idea what the hell they were doing.
It's true, man. Yeah, just a random thing, but like, I think we started in July or something, right? Something like that. But
no, June, because I literally left. Okay. I literally left for SGDQ after episode 1.
Oh yeah, true.
Episode 0, yeah. I literally left for SGDQ like that next day.
Yeah, I was just looking at like the random stats on SoundCloud because those are the only stats we can actually see. And like the first quote unquote year of the podcast, or half a year, I guess, like was 700 listens in total, something like that. And we already hit that after 3 days with the previous episode this year. So that's like an amazing difference. And now people are watching us live. Well, hopefully.
And I mean, that's just SoundCloud. Like a lot, we actually have people that listen to this on Apple Podcasts, because we have reviews on Apple Podcasts, even though we never promote Apple Podcasts. You know, and
it's on our website, but
right. And there's Stitcher, like there's so many podcast episodes and apps out there that pull from an RSS feed, which is how they pull from SoundCloud, is via just an RSS feed. So there's so many other avenues to listen to this podcast that we just either A, don't know about, or B, just don't have the manpower to
figure out
how to do.
Keep track of. Yeah.
So, So yeah, again, listening to the podcast in itself is super, super supportive, because if no one's listening to this podcast, I have other things I can do on a Sunday afternoon. So, like sleep until 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah, I literally have to go to bed after this. Like,
true. Leaving reviews, so comments, reviews are really nice as well too, especially like Apple Podcasts. Like, we have 2 reviews on Apple Podcasts that are 5 stars, because we have very soothing voices and know what we're talking about every time we go onto the microphone. So we had, leaving a review is super helpful, even if it's a 4-star. I'm cool with a 4-star review, even like above 3. If you're gonna put a 3-star, just don't even put a review. I don't want to hear it. I do want to hear it, but just not on the website.
Oh boy.
What else we got? Hanging out with us in Discord. Like, we actually have some pretty nice conversations in Discord. It doesn't have to be Game Boy centric or the podcast at all. We've talked about homebrew games, creating Game Boy games, sprite work, new stuff. We've talked about a little bit of everything. So come hang out in Discord, chat with us. We're friendly for the most part. Really cool community. It's a quiet community, but it's a really cool community. Everyone's super nice to one another. A very knowledgeable crew as well too. So, yeah, and you can find all of that information and more on thisisgameboy.com.
Yeah, to make it easier. So we talked for 20 minutes just to say go to thisisgameboy.com, basically. No,
that's how the outro typically goes.
That's the outro. Yeah.
Oh. What's our next episode? Oh, you chose. I have to choose our next episode.
You definitely have to choose the next episode.
Let me pull out the Game Boy list here. Find it.
Yeah, we don't have a dedicated channel on the RGL Discord because we thought we didn't really need it, but if people really want one,
yeah, if you guys want one, we can make one. It's just
it's no problem.
I have a Discord dedicated to the podcast and another channel in the Monochrome City Discord dedicated to the podcast.
Yeah. But yeah, if we can always do it. If the people want it, we can.
We can certainly do it. Certainly do it. Let's see here. What genre haven't we done in a while?
That is a good question.
I did Parasol Henbei for the light. We've done Fortified Zone. We haven't done a platformer in a while, my light episode, I guess, but we can do Wizardry 1.
Never gonna happen. You can bring in another guest for that, like I had to do with Battletoads. I have nothing good to say about Wizardry.
Garbage game. We've done Maru's Mission. We've done Ninja Gaiden with Enemy. We've done the Bonk games with Latmaki.
Yeah.
We've unfortunately have done Molemania. We did Donkey Kong 1. We could do Donkey Kong 2.
Already? That's
alright, we're not going to do Donkey Kong 2.
I mean, I don't care, but...
Oh, no. Kate's already had it. Ooh. What are your thoughts on the Blues Brothers? I don't know if we want to do both games at once or just one at a time.
I have thoughts.
I also have thoughts.
I have thoughts about them, for sure.
I definitely have thoughts about them as well, too. Have you done Sumo Fighter? Have we done Sumo Fighter? I don't even know if we've done an episode. If we haven't done an episode on Sumo Fighter, we should do one on Sumo Fighter.
Yeah, okay, that's probably better, yeah.
Alright. Next episode will be Sumo. With Mo and I will be Sumo Fighter. I don't know what Mo's light's going to be at all.
Same.
Yeah, even Mo doesn't know what his light... I don't even know what my lights are going to be until like a week before I record them, so... Yeah, the next time you hear from Mo and I, we're going to be talking about Sumo Fighter, which... the game you wouldn't expect based off of the title. I promise. As the original speedrunner of this game, I promise.
Yeah, you don't know what you're in for if you don't already know it. That is,
All right, with that, thank you all for watching our first live episode on Retro Gaming Live TV. And those of you listening via YouTube or podcast application episode, thank you for listening to another episode of This is Game Boy. And we will see you again shortly.
Yeah. See you all later.
All right, ending recording now.